Rich man's nightmare. Alone with no Arabic translator. Until the black cleaner's shocking move. The halls of the luxurious Roshan Palace were dimly lit, and yet, the echo of footsteps seemed louder than thunder. The walls were lined with priceless artwork. A lavish chandelier hung precariously over a vast, empty ballroom where the shadows danced like phantoms. Amir Grant, the wealthy businessman, stood stiffly in the center, beads of sweat trickling down his forehead. He wasn't just alone, he was lost. The rich man found himself paralyzed, surrounded by a sea of unfamiliar Arabic, words swirling around him like a storm. There were whispers among the staff, foreign laughter filling the air, but none of it was meant for him. Amir's heart pounded in his chest. He had an important meeting with the leaders of the Arab world tonight, and he didn't speak their language. Panic curled in his stomach as he remembered the translator who had canceled last minute. His expensive suit felt like a straitjacket now, too tight as his mind spiraled into dark thoughts of embarrassment, of failure. Suddenly, a figure caught his eye. The cleaner, a tall woman with dark skin and striking eyes that held stories untold, moved silently through the shadows. She wore a faded uniform that seemed inadequately humble for the opulence around her. But there was something magnetic about her presence. With every sweep of her broom, she stirred an unsettling curiosity in Amir, challenging the boundaries between the elite and the invisible. He saw her glance towards him, her expression unreadable. Was it pity? Defiance? Each second felt stretched like an elastic band ready to snap. He wanted to shout for help, but held back, the weight of pride binding him. What power did this cleaner hold? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With the tension hanging thick, the cleaner, surprisingly, made her way toward him. She stopped short, standing just a breath away, her body relaxed but her gaze sharp. "You look troubled," she said, her voice low yet steady, cutting through the chaos. Words can be a prison, can't they? Amir's chest tightened. How could she understand? He felt exposed, everything he hid now laid bare. But there was a flicker of hope in those piercing eyes, the kind that ignited a hidden part of him he thought he had buried deep. Could this woman, this mysterious cleaner, be his salvation? Or was she leading him further into a web of secrets he could never untangle? As the lights flickered overhead, Amir found himself backed into a corner, realizing he might have stumbled upon something far more dangerous than his inability to communicate. The room was filled with tension, mystery swirling around them like a thick fog. He couldn't shake the feeling that tonight would change everything. But would it lead him to freedom or fail him in the worst way imaginable? Amir could feel the weight of her stare piercing through him. "You need a way out," she murmured, her voice thick with understanding. There was no need for translation. Her gaze said it all. Each second stretched like a taut wire ready to snap. He needed to speak, to reclaim some sense of control. Instead, he felt like a marionette tugged by unseen strings. "What do you know about my situation?" he managed to ask, his voice trembling despite the commanding persona he usually wore like armor. The cleaner leaned in closer, her eyes flickering toward the doorway. "I know that tonight, this palace will witness both a pact and a betrayal." Her words sent a jolt through him. What did she know? "Who are you?" Amir demanded, his breath catching in his throat. "I'm someone who understands the real power in this room," she replied, brushing away a tuft of dust that didn't exist, as if cleaning away the fabric of deception surrounding them. Translation isn't just about words. It's about knowing what's at stake. And believe me, it's bigger than you think. A shiver ran down Amir's spine. The air felt heavier. Each breath stung with anticipation. There was danger simmering beneath the surface. He needed her help. Yet, with every instinct warning him to tread carefully, he grabbed at the thread of hope she dangled before him. "What do you want?" he asked, suddenly wary. Trust was a luxury he couldn't afford. The cleaner straightened, her expression resolute yet haunted. "I want you to see the truth," She glanced back towards the ballroom, where voices of laughter mingled and masked figures glided across the polished floor like sharks. The leaders you'll meet tonight have secrets, and they will not hesitate to sacrifice you to keep them. Amir felt an icy grip around his heart. Why should I believe you? Because, she leaned in, dark eyes blazing, you're not just a pawn in their game. You're a part of a bigger picture, a picture you must not ignore. Outside, thunder rumbled ominously, and he could almost sense the storm brewing within him. The meeting loomed ahead, but every syllable that left her lips pulled him toward her. Help me understand. She nodded, and in that moment, everything shifted. There's a way to breach the language barrier, she said softly. But it's risky. You must trust me. Amir's mind raced. Trust a cleaner? This felt absurd. But desperation painted his choices in stark black and white. What do I have to do? Follow my lead, she said, and let the shadows whisper your worth. She stepped back, scanning the ballroom as if expecting trouble. Tonight will test your limits, Amir. Be prepared for the unexpected. Suddenly, her shoulder brushed against his, sending jolts through his nerves as if she ignited a fire within him. Just then, a loud crash echoed through the hallway behind them, the sound snapping their focus. The cleaner's expression shifted from calm to fierce. They're here earlier than I expected. We don't have much time. Fear gripped Amir. Had something gone wrong already? What do we do? Find the side entrance to the ballroom, she instructed quickly. It leads to a storage room where we can speak freely. But before Amir could react, the door swung open behind them. A figure in a dark suit stepped in, and the chatter of laughter faded. Are you two up to something? The voice dripped with authority, thrumming danger. Amir's heart raced as the tension tightened around them like a noose. Would this be the end of his chance at understanding? Would the shadows swallow him whole before he could escape? As the figure advanced, the cleaner locked eyes with Amir, silently urging him to make a choice, to run or stand his ground. Would he take the leap into the unknown, or would he remain bound by fear? Amir felt the blood rush to his ears as the figure moved closer. The shadows of the room flickered alive, swallowing the light. There was no escape now. The dark suit loomed like a predator circling its prey. Everything he'd fought for, every connection he'd tried to build, suddenly felt trivial. Honestly, I was just the cleaner started, but Amir cut her off, urging her toward the side entrance with a frantic nod. His instincts screamed at him to flee, but fear kept him rooted in place. The man in the suit stopped a few steps away, his eyes narrowing. You'll find it hard to convince me you're simply tidying up. The power in his voice resonated through Amir's core. What secrets did this man hold? How many lives had he crushed for his ambitions? Time seemed frozen, and the weight of his gaze buckled Amir's resolve. He had to act. Before he could think it through, Amir stepped forward, his voice steadier than he felt. We were just discussing your plans for tonight. The suited man raised an eyebrow, an unimpressed smirk creeping onto his lips. How insightful, Amir. I didn't know you were interested in palace affairs. Interest can spark confrontation, the cleaner interjected before Amir had a chance to speak again. Especially when the truth is involved. Her words hung in the air like poison darts. The man's expression shifted, revealing annoyance mixed with curiosity. Is that so? You think you can speak out of turn here? You're both in over your heads. Amir sensed a chance as the man's attention drifted slightly to the cleaner. You don't intimidate me, Amir shot back, emboldened. I've dealt with men like you before. The smile vanished, replaced by an icy glare. Then you truly are foolish. He stepped closer, invading Amir's space, his voice dropping ominously. Foolishness can be fatal. Without thinking, Amir lunged sideways, colliding with the cleaner. They stumbled together toward the entrance. The suited man swiped at them, missing as they ducked through the doorway. Panic surged through Amir's veins, a powerful rush. Adrenaline coated his mind in urgency. Quick, this way. The cleaner gestured down a narrow hall lined with dark wood, the atmosphere thick as a storm. They sprinted down the corridor, but the sound of footsteps echoed behind them, relentless and purposeful. Amir's heart hammered like a drum, each beat matching the rhythm of their feet against the cold floor. They could hide or attack, but the choice was slipping away. I didn't want to be seen like this. The cleaner hissed, glancing over her shoulder. You need to trust me more than ever now. This is just the beginning. Amir forced himself to focus, willing his mind to cut through the fog of fear. You said there was a pact. What exactly is happening tonight? Complicated alliances, she explained, breathless, darting around a corner. They decide who lives and who dies based on a single card played in the shadows. What card? He asked, panting heavily. Your life? She replied, urgency amplifying her tone. They choose either to elevate or eliminate you. A chilling realization struck Amir. This wasn't just about him anymore. He was a pawn in a game where the stakes were life and death, and he had only moments before the real players made their moves. Just then, a door creaked open ahead. It was ajar, light spilling out, illuminating a flicker of movement inside. They exchanged a glance, hesitation weighing between them. Do we go in? Amir whispered, feeling the perspiration bead on his brow. She took a breath, her determination unyielding. We have to take the risk, or we lose everything. With the sound of pounding feet drawing closer, Amir took a step towards the door, his heartbeat echoing in his ears. Would they find safety within, or would they push deeper into the unknown? Would the truth be out there waiting, or a trap ready to ensnare them both? Amir pushed the door open just wide enough for him and the cleaner to slip through. The sudden burst of light made him squint, but what he saw inside froze him in place. It was a small room, cluttered with old furniture and the remnants of a long-forgotten gathering. A flickering bulb dangled from the ceiling, casting eerie shadows that danced across the walls. What now? He whispered, barely able to keep the tremor out of his voice. The cleaner glanced around, her eyes darting nervously. We hide, at least for a moment. He'll be looking for us. Amir could hear the noise growing closer, the footsteps echoing ominously down the hall. He could practically feel the tension in the air, pulling at him like an invisible force. Turning his back to the door, he scanned the room for a place to conceal themselves. Over there. She pointed to a worn-out couch, half hidden beneath a tattered blanket that looked like it hadn't been touched in ages. They hurried over, sliding behind it, just as the footsteps halted outside the room. Amir's breath caught in his throat. His heart raced, hammering like a frantic drum. He felt the heat radiate from the cleaner beside him, her body tense as they waited for whatever would come next. The door creaked slowly open. A figure loomed in the doorway, the man in the suit. The oppressive aura surrounding him suffocated Amir's thoughts. He was hunting, and Amir was the prey. Amir, come out. Come out. Wherever you are. The man's voice was smooth, yet laced with danger. He moved into the room, surveying it with cold, calculating eyes. Amir felt a bead of sweat trickle down his back as he remained motionless, praying that their hiding spot was enough. He'll find us, he whispered to the cleaner. Just breathe, she whispered back, keeping her eyes trained on the man. Don't make a sound. Suddenly, the man turned sharply, a glint of recognition dancing across his features. He took a step toward the couch, his hand reaching out as if he could sense their presence. I know you're here. You can't hide from the truth. Amir's mind raced. What truth? What did he know that could ruin them? He could feel the closet behind him, memories of his life flashing before his eyes like snapshots, his family, his dreams, everything at stake. An agonizing fear gripped him. They were more than just pawns in a dangerous game. They were lives hanging by a thread, and this man was looking to sever it. With an unexpected jolt, the cleaner reached for something hidden in her jacket. Amir could barely make out the outline of a small object. It glinted in the muted light, like a dagger poised to strike. Wait, he hissed, panic flooding his chest. What are you doing? I'm not going to let him take us, she answered, determination burning in her eyes. We have to confront him. It's the only way to survive. Before Amir could respond, the man lunged toward the couch, and chaos erupted. The cleaner leapt out, brandishing the weapon as Amir scrambled behind her, willing himself to trust her instincts. Stay back, she shouted, her voice fierce. The man paused, surprise flickering across his face, before his lips curled into a sinister smile. Interesting choice, he replied coolly. But do you honestly think you can threaten me? Amir clenched his fists, adrenaline racing through his veins. They were standing on the precipice of a decision that could end them, fight or flee. But a voice echoed in his mind, drowning out the chaos, the weight of his choice hovering over him like a guillotine waiting to drop. Only one of us can walk out alive tonight. Amir's blood ran cold. What had he stepped into? This was more than just a night of danger. They were entwined in a deadly game that could unravel everything he once thought certain. As the man began to close the distance, Amir realized that if they were to have any hope of escaping, it would come down to a single, decisive act. Together, he whispered to the cleaner, who nodded resolutely, her grip tightening on the weapon. The moment stretched, tension spiraling as they braced for what came next. Would they find the strength to confront the ominous truth, or would it tear them apart? But just then, a loud crash echoed down the hall, shaking the room and making the walls tremble. What was that? The suited man whipped around, his attention momentarily diverted that it was their chance. Now, Amir shouted, and they bolted out from behind the couch, ready to face whatever came next. But as they dashed toward the door, Amir couldn't shake the feeling that shadows lay deeper than he imagined, waiting to ensnare them both. They burst through the door, hearts racing, limbs pumping with adrenaline. Amir barely noticed the peeling wallpaper or the dusty floor tiles beneath their feet. All that mattered was the escape ahead. Which way? The cleaner gasped, scanning their surroundings. An endless hallway stretched before them, dimly lit and seemingly abandoned. Stale air hung thick, and the sounds of their footsteps echoed ominously. Left. Amir led the way, instincts kicking in. The walls closed in around them, shadows lurking just beyond sight. Every fiber of his being screamed that they had to move faster, that the suited man would come after them the moment he regained his composure. They rounded the corner and skidded to a stop outside a door marked stairs. The cleaner pressed her body against the wall, glancing back the way they came. We can't stay here. He'll be right behind us. Wait, Amir said, close to panic. He opened the door, revealing an old staircase spiraling down into darkness. We have to try? Grabbing her hand, he led her down the crumbling steps. At the first landing, the air grew colder, as if something unseen had cloaked the stairs in dread. Do you think the cleaner's voice trembled, her eyes reflecting the dim light? Do you think he followed us? I don't know. The truth stung like a slap. Nothing about this night made sense anymore, a tangle of fear and uncertainty. Scanning the darkness below, Amir felt the grip of terror tighten around his chest. Just keep going. They descended, one step at a time, hearts pounding in sync with the echo of their hurried breaths. The weight of silence surrounded them, broken only by the creaking of the old wooden stairs. With each footfall, Amir felt the pressure build. As though the very building was aware of their presence, the air felt alive, charged with an electric tension. But just then, a sudden crash sounded from above. The noise reverberated through the staircase, making it feel like the walls themselves were collapsing. Both Amir and the cleaner halted, their faces pale, eyes wide. What was that? She gasped, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't know, Amir replied, the fear settling deep in his gut. We have to keep moving, we have to. Suddenly, a figure appeared at the top of the stairs, bathed in the light spilled from the now wide-open door. It was him, the man in the suit. His expression was one of manic glee, as if the chase had invigorated him. Clever little mice, he called down, amusement coloring his voice. You think you can escape so easily? Panic surged through Amir's veins. They couldn't go back. That wasn't an option. They had no choice but to move down. Come on, he urged, gripping the cleaner's wrist tightly as they hurried down another flight. The lower they went, the darker it became, until they reached a dimly lit corridor lined with rusted metal doors. It felt like they had entered a different world, a forgotten realm where only echoes lived. Amir's heart raced faster with every closed door they passed. Each one might hold something waiting to pounce, secrets lurking just beyond, ready to spill out and swallow them whole. It felt menacing, but there was no time to weigh possibilities. We need to find a way out, he urged, their voices tinged with urgency as they pressed on. But as they reached the end of the corridor, they were met with a dead end. The flicker of a single bulb barely illuminated the rusty padlock, keeping one last door shut. It's locked, she cried, panic clawing at her throat as their reality sank in. Find something, Amir shouted, eyes darting around desperately. They had to break free, and fast. Just as the cleaner was about to start searching, Amir caught a strange glint in the shadows behind them, a glimmer of metal. Something long and dangerous. What is that? He muttered, breathless with dread. With a slow turn, They faced the source of the light, then the air crackled with anticipation as Amir grasped that they might not have been alone in their escape. What did we walk into? He thought, fear racing as the realization settled something darker awaited them, lurking just out of sight. The glint shifted, catching the frail light above. Amir's heart raced. It wasn't he just a trick of the darkness or his imagination playing games. No, something was there, some presence lurking just outside of sight. It wasn't he just the man in the suit they had to worry about. Amir the cleaner whispered, drawing closer to him, fingers trembling in his grip. Stay behind me, he said, trying to sound braver than he felt. He edged backward, putting as much space between them and the unseen shadow as possible. Every nerve in his body was on high alert, ready for an attack. His mind raced through scenarios, each more horrifying than the last. Suddenly, the glimmer came closer. Was it moving? Amir fought the instinct to bolt, forcing himself to remain still and focused. The metallic gleam was clearer now, revealing itself to be attached to a gloved hand. Its owner stepped into the light, and the air grew heavy with an unmistakable chill that a woman emerged from the shadows, her face partially obscured by a hood. Each line of her expression told a story of hardship and survival. She held a knife sharp, glinting, and far too familiar. The sight sent chills down Amir's spine. Please, Amir said quickly, his voice barely above a whisper. We're just trying to escape. She echoed softly, stepping forward. From what? From whom? There was an unsettling curiosity in her tone that made him uneasy. From behind, the footsteps of the suited man echoed ominously, sending a wave of terror through both Amir and the cleaner. I have no time for this. He shouted down the stairway, and Amir's heart sank. He was inches away. We don't want any trouble, Amir pleaded, hoping the woman might understand. There's a man chasing us. We have to hide. The woman's gaze sharpened, curiosity shifting to cautious suspicion. Why should I help you? Her eyes flicked to the side, like a hawk surveying its territory. Because we can help you, Amir blurted out before he could stop himself. We'll get you out of here too. You don't have to be alone. Her expression faltered just enough that he felt the small flame of hope flicker. The door is locked, she said, her voice dropping as if revealing a secret. He wants something from me, something I stole. You're in deeper than you realize. Amir felt the walls closing in, panic clawing at his throat. Each second the suited man gained was a step closer to disaster. Then let us break that door, he urged. Together. The woman stared hard at Amir, weighing the validity of his words. The knife hung loosely in her grip, but her tension was palpable. Okay, she breathed, a slight nod of agreement. But if this backfires, you'll regret it. As they quickly surveyed the hall, Amir's mind raced. The suited man would be here any moment. They needed a way out, and this woman might be their best shot. We have to find a way to unlock it, he said. Help me look. They all turned, heads swiveling side to side, searching for anything that could give them an edge. Fear weighed heavily in the air, a kind of static threatening to explode. But just as Amir was about to suggest they check the metal doors for tools, the sound of footsteps reached their ears, heavier than before. Amir's breath quickened as he pressed himself to the wall, eyes darting from the padlocked door to the shadows dancing in the dark. The suited man had to be close now. Get ready, the woman whispered, her grip tightening on the knife. You'll need to be fast. They braced themselves, hearts drumming wildly. But before they could form a plan, the power flickered, plunging the corridor into darkness. The clean, orderly glow had vanished, leaving them in an inky void. Amir's throat tightened as heavy breaths echoed around them. What do we do? He whispered, panic rising. But the woman stood still. Trust me, she replied. In that moment, Amir caught a glimpse of determination, or was it something more dangerous? As the first sounds of the man's footsteps resonated in the gloom, Amir felt an icy touch of despair wrap around him. He had to make a choice. Was he putting faith in her, or in their hopeless fate? And then the whispers began, 1,000 voices intertwining, all speaking at once, leaving a chill of uncertainty creeping down Amir's spine. What had they awakened in this darkness? The air grew thick, almost suffocating in the darkness. Amir's heart thudded louder than ever, an insistent drumbeat echoing in his ears. He felt sweat trickling down his back, pooling at the base of his spine. The woman stood rigid, the knife still held tightly in her grasp, as the darkness seemed to swirl around them. Whispers, the cleaner stammered, his voice a mere breath. What is happening? Amir's mind raced. The sound of 1,000 voices intertwined, a cacophony that teased the edges of understanding but never fully materialized. They felt alive and menacing, a warning, or perhaps an invitation. He swallowed hard, trying to suppress the wave of dread creeping upon him. The shadows pressed closer, and he could almost make out shapes just beyond the veil. Can you hear them? Amir whispered, tension thick enough to cut. Yes, the woman replied, her voice steady, betraying none of the fear Amir felt. Listen closer. We need to find meaning, not fear. But the whispers were relentless, calling to him, weaving their way into his thoughts, shadows dancing in his mind like phantoms from a long-forgotten nightmare. He clenched his fists, focusing on the present. They needed to escape. Keeping his voice low, Amir asked, "Do you know how to unlock the door? We need to hurry." The woman flicked her gaze toward the padlocked entrance, then back to him. "Sometimes the keys are not what you expect," she replied cryptically. "The lock may not be physical." "What do you mean?" Amir felt frustration rise, but he knew another moment of panic could ruin them. "We're out of time." With a flick of her wrist, the knife glinted in the darkness, casting strange reflections on the walls. "I don't need the door to unlock what binds me," she said, stepping closer to Amir. The tension in the air pulsed with her daring gaze. "But you, the man in the suit, he wants something from me. Something only you can give." The distant footsteps echoed like thunder in the storm of their dilemma, growing louder and closing in. Amir felt the weight of her words settle in his chest. "What can I offer?" he asked, the question barely escaping his lips. "Your courage," she replied, and her voice rang with certainty. "Your choices shape the reality we face." Suddenly, the darkness pulsed, the whispers rising in intensity. The lights flickered back to life, illuminating the corridor in a harsh glare. Amir squinted against the bright light, frantically scanning the environment. The suited man was seconds away, his shadow stretching ominously. "Look for something, anything," Amir shouted, adrenaline surging through him. "Tools, weapons, we need a plan." But as he turned, he caught a glimpse of the woman's face, determined, yet shadowed by something Amir couldn't quite grasp. She reached behind her hood, revealing a small, medallion-like object hanging from her neck. It gleamed, shining brightly against her dark attire. "What is that?" Amir asked, eyes narrowing. "A key of my own," she replied, her voice wrapping around him like a shroud. "Only it doesn't unlock doors. It reveals truths." Before he could process her meaning, the suited man emerged, eyes cold and calculating. "I warned you," he said, stepping into the light. His presence loomed large, cutting off their escape. Amir's heart raced. "We have to move," he shouted, shoving past the woman, needing to put space between himself and the man who wanted to seize them both. A rush of instinct propelled him forward, but then the whispers rose again, louder, drowning out all coherent thought. Amir stumbled, his resolve unraveling as the weight of the moment crashed down on him. "Trust," the woman yelled, her voice a sword through the noise. "Now." The words sliced through Amir like lightning, igniting a spark of determination. But just as he looked back at her, she lunged, brandishing the knife toward the suited man. Chaos erupted. Shadows collided with light. Amir took a step back, uncertainty gripping his heart. What had he chosen? And in that split second, he realized he wasn't just running for his life anymore. He was caught in a web of secrets far bigger than he could ever imagine. What would he sacrifice to survive? The answer hung like a question in the air as the whirlwind of confrontation spiraled around him. Time compressed, and as he took a breath, he knew nothing would be the same again. But even now, amid the chaos, the whispers surged anew, calling forth darker truths than he could ever anticipate. Amir barely had time to react. The moment she lunged, everything shifted. The world turned into a sudden blur. The suited man's eyes widened for an instant, shock mingling with malice, and he lunged sideways, dodging the glint of her blade. The knife's blade sang through the air, slicing mere inches from him. But Amir felt the impact of fear washing over him like cold water. The whispers intensified, evolving into a sinister chant that filled the space between them. He could feel their urgency pressing against his chest, demanding he take action. "Amir!" the woman shouted, her voice a lifeline amidst the chaos. The suited man recovered quickly, eyes locked on the woman. "You think you can defy me? You have no idea what forces are at play here. Neither do you," Amir yelled, stepping forward instinctively as the tension thickened. "You think you control this all?" The man's lips twisted into a sneer. "Control? Oh, I don't need to control it. I just need to use it." "What do you mean?" Amir asked, ignoring the fact that he had just taken a step closer to danger. The suited man waved his hand dismissively. "You're wrongly caught in the crossfire. But trust me, I'm not the one you need to fear. The true demons are lurking in shadows much deeper than I." Amir's mind reeled, trying to comprehend this sudden twist, but the woman's fierce gaze fixed on him, breaking through the haze. "Don't listen to him," she yelled, her voice fierce and unwavering. "We need to focus on breaking free from this place. It's the only way." The whispers surged again, a relentless tide of voices urging him to remember, urging him to act. "Do it," they screamed. "Claim your truth." Before Amir could process it all, he felt the medallion tugging at his chest, as if alive. He reached for it, his fingers brushing against the cool surface, and in that moment, clarity struck him like a blow. "Your truth," he shouted, turning back towards the woman. "Tell me what I need to do." But she wasn't listening. She had already launched herself forward again, knife poised to strike. The suited man sidestepped, but not without receiving a barely there cut along his arm, crimson blooming like petals unfurling. Amir winced, feeling the sudden reality of danger. "Coward!" he spat, adrenaline coursing through his veins. "You're merely a pawn playing in someone else's game." The man chuckled darkly, then straightened, eyes narrowing. "You don't know the half of it, boy. Every move you make brings you closer to your own demise." Then, with a practiced fluidity, he reached into his jacket, slipping out a small, silver object. Amir's heart plummeted when he recognized it a gun. Everything halted. The tension in the air became a tangible thing, suffocating and electric. For one frozen moment, all the whispers faded, leaving only the sound of Amir's own pounding heart. "Stop!" he yelled, hands raised. "I don't want to fight you. This doesn't have to end in blood." The gun glinted ominously as the suited man laughed sharply, his own expression twisted by darkness. "You don't get to choose the terms, Amir. Not anymore. You're already in too deep." He aimed, and in that heartbeat, everything spiraled. The woman, fierce and unyielding, lunged again, but Amir was rooted in place, caught between choices. Time stretched, and as it did, a sudden clarity swept over him. "You need to let go of your fears," the woman whispered, her voice breaking through the noise. "Only then can you unlock your truth." A weight settled heavily on Amir's shoulders. He felt it, an inner battle, clawing between survival and sacrifice. Amid the impending violence, a flicker of hope ignited. Maybe, just maybe, the truth buried deep within him could dismantle the chaos and take back what had been stolen. But as the whispers thundered back to life, demanding to be heard, Amir knew one thing he had to decide, and fast. Would he face the gunman and claim his truth? Or would he fall victim to a fate he could not comprehend? The suited man's finger tightened on the trigger. Who would be left standing when the dust settled? In an instant, the noise came crashing back. Amir's world regained its sharp edges, the frantic whispers swelling into a deafening roar as adrenaline coursed through him. Time had shifted, and with it, Amir felt moments stretching like an elastic band, ready to snap. "Amir!" The woman's voice cut through the tension, an urgent plea that flickered in the heated air. "Focus!" But how? How could he focus when the gun glinted menacingly, begging for an end? Amir's mind raced, yet his heart echoed the same truth the woman had revealed. He had to let go. Letting go meant surrendering the fear that had gripped him since he had stumbled into this dark world of threats and shadows. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him, but beneath it, a flicker of rebellion ignited. "It's not just about me," Amir said, breathless. "If I back down, it's not just my fate at stake." He couldn't let one more person fall victim to this man. The flashes of their desperate situation filled his mind. The woman, with her fierce determination, ready to fight for their freedom. The suited man tilted his head, a wry smile creeping across his face. Look at you trying to play the hero, but don't you see? Your courage won't save you. This is not a fairy tale. Amir's voice rose steadily, gaining momentum. Maybe not, but it doesn't have to be a tragedy, either. You think you're in control, but look at the chaos around you. Look at what this madness has done. The man's expression faltered for just a moment, and Amir seized it. Fight this together. If we all stand as one, we can overcome you. You're not a god, just a man playing at power. In that heartbeat of audacity, the woman readied herself, clutching her knife tighter, her gaze blazing with resolve. We are not alone. And if you think your toys intimidate us, you're mistaken. Then, the world exploded. With a roar of rage, the suited man pulled the trigger, time snapping back into its frantic rhythm. The deafening crack shattered the air like glass. Amir's heart leaped into his throat, time slowing once more as he turned his instinct into action. He lunged toward the woman, instinctively moving to shield her with his own body, bracing for impact. But a miracle ensued. The gunshot rang out not as a harbinger of death, but as a distraction. The bullet ricocheted off something metallic behind them, the sound a sharp yelp of metal scraping against itself. Amir squinted through a haze of shock and adrenaline. The woman had fluidly ducked, and as the suited man recoiled, his momentary confusion allowed Amir to surge forward. He felt the medallion at his chest pulse with newfound energy, a steady beat that resonated with his own heart. Now, he shouted, willing the whispers to take form, to support him in turning the tide. In that heartbeat, the air shifted. Shadows danced dangerously close, and from the edge of the room, something emerged, a surge of figures cloaked in darkness, faces obscured but presence undeniable. The hidden R&T so hidden, anymore, a low voice murmured from behind. It was calm, menacing. Prepare for reckoning. Amir's breath hitched, and he turned to find those cloaked figures moving as if guided by an unseen force. A chilling realization took root. They were there for him. But were they allies or enemies? The suited man's eyes darted between Amir and the mysterious figures, a wicked struggle unfurling within him. What? Who are they? He hissed, his bravado melting under pressure. Your peers, Amir replied, standing taller despite the looming danger. And they know the truth as well. But what truth would this gathering reveal? And could Amir wield it before it engulfed them all? As the air thickened with tension, Amir's heart thudded wildly. Could he really unleash the secrets that would make or break them? The moment of revelation hovered close, waiting to unfold. But who would emerge intact once the truth was laid bare? The room pulsed with expectation, shadows swirling in chaotic patterns as Amir stood firm. The suited man's composure was crumbling, recognition dawning in his eyes. You're a fool to think you can control this, he spat, anger igniting his features. Amir locked eyes with the cloaked figures. I don't have to control it. I just have to reveal it, he said, voice steady as it traveled through the tension thick enough to cut. He could feel the energy surrounding him, the whispers surging, urging him forward. The suited man taunted, revealing your truth will only seal your fate, boy. But Amir didn't waver. He realized now that defeat was not an option, not for himself and not for the woman standing beside him, her fierce determination lighting the darkened corners of his mind. He stepped closer to the figures, feeling the heat of their presence wash over him. You know why we're here, Amir proclaimed, a newfound confidence rising within him. Help me unveil what he is hiding, what we all deserve to know. As he spoke, the cloaked figures began to converge around the suited man, forming an unbreakable circle of shadows. A ripple of energy surged through the air, and Amir couldn't help but notice their silent communication, their resolve aligning. The suited man shifted uneasily, sweat beginning to bead on his brow. You think you can scare me with this charade? He gritted, confidence faltering. No facade here, the woman interjected, holding out her knife, the blade shimmering in the flickering light. It's time you face the truth of your own twisted game. The cloaked figures flowed like a dark tide, surrounding the man, cutting off his escape. You've lied and plotted for far too long. One of them spoke, their voice echoing with authority. It's time for your reckoning. Amir could see fear etching its way back into the suited man's expression, a flicker much like the one he felt when caught in the spotlight of judgment. You don't understand. I am untouchable, he snarled, but there was a crack in his facade. They had him cornered now. A deafening silence swallowed them all. Amir could feel the whispers intensifying, urging him. This was the climactic moment he had feared, but now, it was filled with hope. The truth was within reach. No one is untouchable, Amir spoke, feeling the weight of every word. We all have a choice. It's time to let your power dissolve like shadows in the sun. Foolish boy, the suited man retorted, though the defiance in his voice was trembling. He glared at Amir, but turned his attention to the figures closing in around him, uncertainty flickering in his cold gaze. He was losing control. Do it, Amir shouted, the urgency of the moment bringing out a leader within him. The cloaked figures surged forward, their forms intertwining with the suited man's delusions, spiraling toward the truth hidden beneath the lies. The air crackled, and Amir could feel the surge of energy, a whirlwind that cut through the fog of deceit clouding the palace. A series of whispers erupted from the cloaked figures, a chant that resonated with power. The walls began to tremble, shivering as the truth emerged like a scream breaking free from silence. The suited man roared in despair, the shadows constricting like chains around him. No, you can't. But it was too late. The truth had no mercy. The words poured out. Secrets long buried clawed through the corridors of power he had used to shield himself from consequence. Amir watched as the suit started to unravel, collapsing under the weight of the revealed truths. Fear no longer rules you, he whispered, feeling the intensity of the moment reverberate through his very bones. With one last clash of chaos, the shadows began to consume their master. The suited man clawed at the air, searching for a way to escape as his power fizzled into the ether. The air filled with the weight of his upheaval, a release that swept through the fabric of the room. But as the man's last attempts faded away into the void, a release echoed from deep within Amir. The whispers began to quiet, forming into clarity a serene resolution. The truth would be their survival and the source of their freedom. The cloaked figures stood still as the frenzy subsided, their eyes shifting back to Amir. You've done well, one intoned solemnly. Now it's time for you to choose your path. Amir looked to the woman beside him. Together? She nodded, and in that moment, he felt the chains that held him captive for so long break away, light flooding back into his heart. It was time to step into the world anew, empowered by the truth they had all fought for. With a final glimpse at the fading shadows, Amir felt liberation wash over him. Turning to the exit, their path now clear before them. This was it. This was their moment. Let us go, Amir said, gripping her hand. Together they stepped into the unknown, souls unshackled, ready for whatever came next. And as they walked out into the light, Amir knew one thing for sure. The shadows were no longer his prison. They were the stage upon which he would reclaim his life, and one way or another, he would build a future wrapped in solid truths. Now is the time, friends. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support matters. Flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this ending. Your voice is powerful, and I want to hear every word. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through those actions. Let us keep this incredible journey going together.